a 5-game winning streak and a 5-game home winning streak, the Orange and Blue look to extend it to 6 in a 2024 Stanley Cup Final rematch. We get you set for the Oilers and the Panthers right here on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Good evening, everybody. How are you today on a cold day in the Big E? Tom Gazzola, Hernan Salas with you. Zachary Kubish holding things down, producing today's pre- and post-game shows. Back at EST HQ. Join the conversation. Text us 780-218-9999. If you're watching on YouTube, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff as we get you set for an exciting rematch. And the first time we see these two teams since June 24th, Game 7, Oilers and Panthers. Before we get to Nanso, I do need to tell you that GCL Diesel, providers of the best diesel engine components around, from turbochargers to injectors, fuel pumps to sensors, they are the critical engine component experts, proud to serve Edmonton and Northern Alberta for over 50 years. Nanso, you're coming at us from your satellite studios, as I like to call it, because you will be heading down to Rogers Place. You going in the black t-shirt, or are you going to spiff it up?
No, I'll spiff it up, man. It's a little cold too, so I gotta get nice and warm there for the walk from the lot. So yeah, I'm excited, man. It's been a while since I've been to an Oiler game as a part of the media. It's I think the last time I did it was in March of 2022. So it's been quite a while. But I'd like to get out to a few games. I know it's tough with pre and post game, obviously, Tommy. But yeah, big thanks to Zach for stepping in here for the extra half hour, I guess, and letting me go to a game for a bit. And then, yeah, it's going to be great to see some faces and see the game in person.
Are you going to be excited to see Bob? Hey, Hernan. Oh, hey, who's doing the show? Who's doing the show?
I don't really know him. So, like, I've met him a few times here and there. I think you introduced me, and then I think 1 year for Dom's birthday, he was we went to the U of A game, and he was there.
Oh, yeah. You guys didn't work together at 1260, right? He had gone to Ched by then?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was gone. But just to see guys like DMB and you know, the crew that's always there at the Oiler games, our buddy DVD, the Chilean connection there. So it's going to be fun, man. I can't wait.
I'm looking forward to seeing you down at the rink, and it is cold up in the press box too, by the way. So
yeah.
Dress warm, my friend. All right. Do we get to the question of the night, or do I start with your thoughts? You know what? Let's start with the question of the night, Hernan, and then let's get to a little bit of a follow-up, what you're looking forward to on the ice between the Oilers and the Panthers.
Yeah, a lot of talk of this in the pregame. Sorry, not in the pregame. On all our shows previous to this one. And we got different takes, Tom, where it's a big game, it's just another game. So I want to ask our listeners, and I want to ask you, and hopefully, Bellsy, you get the opportunity to. For the Edmonton Oilers, is this a big revenge game, or is it just another game? And the reason I asked, there's good conversation on the Hangout. We had it on EST Afternoons, where I feel win or lose, the Oilers just look at this game as another game. And I know a lot of fans I think the fans are more looking at it as a revenge game because it's so emotional to them. It was heartbreak last June, Tom. So which way are you looking at this for the Edmonton Oilers? Is it a big game, or is it just another game in late December here, Tom, as we trend towards the new year and the playoff run?
All right, I like that question of the night. So is it just another game for the Oilers, or is it an important, big, emotional game? I think that the Oilers, especially in the room today, you get the sense that they're trying to treat it like another game.
Yeah.
But it isn't. And it can become a big game in a hurry. You're going to hear from John Forsland, who's doing play-by-play on Prime tonight. He is the Kraken play-by-play man day to day, but he does these Prime games. And he has an interesting theory on that. And I completely agree with him. But no, there's more to it than just being another regular season game against an Eastern Division opponent or Eastern Conference opponent. Pardon me. It does mean more. As much as they try to downplay it, I think it might be on the same level as Edmonton, Colorado, Edmonton, Vegas, Edmonton, Minnesota. You know, that upper echelon of teams that give you fits. That's where I would put this one. So I'm curious to know what audience members and listeners and viewers think. So text us 780-218-9999. Get into the nasty chat if you're watching on YouTube, and let us know. Is it just another game, or is it a higher stakes game in your opinion? That is the question of the night. Did I put that into context properly, Nanso?
No, you did. You did, and it's because we played McDavid on our show, and Tommy, he was downplaying everything.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that's last year. That's so like I'm just genuinely intrigued by the players though. Like, is this just another? Like, they'll never probably tell us, but I'm just intrigued by it because this isn't a rival maybe because you only see him twice a year, and you met him in the
Hmm.
Stanley Cup Final, and it was 7 games. It was great. But I just don't see it as a rival for the Oilers. It's just a team that took the Stanley Cup from you, but that's enormous, right? So I'm always intrigued because fans, media, and players, I think we all treat it a little bit differently.
Let's hear what the Coop has to say. Coop, get in here. What do you think of the question of the night? Is it just another game, or is it higher, more intense, and more elevated? What do you think? I think the Coop walked away.
So do I.
I think the Coop walked away. That's what I think. All right,
Coop's,
we'll proceed here. I saw one from Chief Andy who says this is most definitely a revenge game, not just another game. Yeah, I agree with Chief Andy. There's a bit of a revenge factor. And now, don't get me wrong, the stakes are nowhere near the same as a Stanley Cup Final or a Game 7, but there is some added element to it. So,
but
yeah.
Tom, I look at it this way too. Like, let's just say the Oilers lose tonight. Like, I don't look at it as like a moment. Like, I still think they'll be fine. I
Mhm.
still think they can beat Florida any given night. So that's why for me it's not the end of the world if they lose tonight. It's not like, oh, they got our number, because I don't think they do. They won a 7-game series in 4 games. It's not like they ran over the Oilers, right? So that's why for me I look at it as win or lose. I think it's just good for them. If they
Yeah.
win, if they lose, it's like, well, that's a tough team you played, and depending on how the game goes, I just look at it as just chuck up another loss and you move on.
Edmonton, though, all time versus Florida, pretty good numbers. Regular season, obviously, in the playoffs, they're 3-4. Regular
Mm-hmm.
season, all time since the Panthers came into the league in 93, 94, 23, 16, and 0 with 3 ties. The Panthers did win the season series last year. They won exactly 1 year ago here in Edmonton, 5-1. And Florida also won the first meeting last season, November 20th. 5-3. Prior to that, the Oilers had rattled off 3 straight victories versus Florida. Of course, they only meet 2 times a year. So what say you? Is this a more elevated game, more emotion, more hype? Is it a revenge game? We will read those as we go along in the nasty chat, as well as the inbox 780-218-9999. Shawn Belle will be joining us in a few minutes. Hernan is here for the first 10 to 15, and then he's going to skedaddle and make his way down to Rogers Place. He'll be live on location. You're doing post-game tonight, right?
Yeah, I'll be on post.
All right. I'm going to go through the lineups, and then we'll get some final thoughts from you. Then we'll get to our game analyst.
Sure.
Shawn Belle tonight. All right. The starting lineups brought to you by South Fort Chev. Upgrade your sleigh with South Fort Chev in the month of November. Reserve your 2025 Equinox, Trax, and Traverse now. They will not last long. They've also got 2025 Silverado Customs with payments starting as low as $199 biweekly. See dealer for details at www.southfortchev.com. For the Oilers, no lineup changes. McDavid between Nugent Hopkins and Hyman. Draisaitl with Podkolzin and Kapanen. Henrique between Janmark and Skinner. Ryan between Perry and Brown. On defense, Ekholm with Bouchard. Nurse paired up with Stetcher. Obviously, a healthy dose of Kulak with Nurse. Kulak is lining up with Emerson when he's not playing with Nurse. So no Alec Regula. He's still, I think he's recovering from injury, last I saw. And for the Oilers as well, Victor Arvidsson, we'll get to him in a little bit, but he did take the morning skate. As for Florida, this can change because Barkov has been ill. Apparently, he was seen at the hotel by some, and he was not looking great. Now, colds are fickle. We know that. You get treatment. Your body can heal, and maybe he is good to go, but he is listed as a game-time decision. If he does go, we're anticipating him between Verhaeghe and Reinhart, Bennett between Boquist and Matthew Tkachuk, Anton Lundell between Eetu Luostarinen and Evan Rodriguez, and then Thomas Nosek with AJ Greer and Mackie Samoskevich. If Barkov doesn't go, the Florida Panthers had Lundell as the top line center, Rodriguez on the left side with Reinhart. Bennett was between Boquist and Kachuk. Luostarinen had, Nosek with him and Mackie Samoskevich. And then where Samoskevich is right now on the fourth line, if Barkov plays, Jonah Gadjevich would step in. I know that's confusing. We will update you on the lineups when the teams hit the ice, if Barkov is good or not for the Florida Panthers. We go to the starting goalies now. 26-year-old Stu Skinner getting the nod for Edmonton, 11-7-2 with a 282 goals against average, 897 save percentage in 20 games this season. Skinner lifetime versus the Panthers, 2-0 record, regular season obviously. 253 goals against average, 929 save percentage in those two appearances versus Florida. And then at the other end of the rink, it is Bobrovsky. He's on the case tonight. The 36-year-old is 13-6-1 with a 287 GAA, 892 save percentage, one shutout in 20 games this season. Bobrovsky versus Edmonton lifetime, 11-6 record, 270 goals against average, 906 save percentage, one shutout in those 17 games between Philly, Columbus, and Florida versus the Oilers. All right. Really quickly, the final thoughts from Hernan, because I know he wants to get to the arena, and we do have Shawn Belle standing by. All right, Nat, so what kind of hockey do you think we're going to see tonight, and what else do you want to drop on us before you take off?
Yeah, I feel it's going to be a spirited tilt. Florida's coming off 2 straight shutouts. They're going to be eager to go and get on the board here. So, and I think for them too, it's kind of one of those games like, hey, we battled it out for the main trophy last year, the main cup, and we were able to come out on top. So they got a little bit of oomph into their game as well. So I think it's going to be a good game. And the way the Oilers are playing, guys, I've been saying it since the Colorado game. This team has played really, really well. I mean, even the game they did lose, they were really good, and they probably should have won that game. So for me, just stick to what's working, man. Like they're not waiting to get into games and seeing what the other team's doing. They're taking it to the team. They're setting the tone, and I think they got to do the same thing tonight. Special teams is coming around. Stuart Skinner's been awesome the last 5-6 games. So don't change much, guys. Just go out there and work your butt off, because you're going to get a solid effort from this Florida team that doesn't take many nights off and are coming in hungry to break that 2-game shutout streak. So it should be a fun one, Tom.
Very nice. I'm very excited to see you up in the press box, and very excited to see what happens on the ice tonight. Nanso, good stuff. We'll catch up with you at the rink in a little bit. Go suit up, Batman.
Okay, see you soon.
All right, there you go. There's the Latino Heat, Hernan Salas, getting us his thoughts as we get set for tonight's action between the Oilers and the Panthers. All right, we need to get to the Advantage Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy injury report. At Advantage Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy, we treat you like the pros. Our multidisciplinary team includes sports medicine physicians, along with highly skilled physiotherapists, strength and conditioning coaches, and massage therapists. Whether you're recovering from an injury or looking to enhance performance, we treat you like a pro using the same locker room approach trusted by the best in the game. For Edmonton, Victor Arvidsson, although he did skate this morning, not a full participant. Chris Knobloch joking that he's filling in for Evan Bouchard, who did not take the morning skate but is expected to play. Arvidsson still IR undisclosed. Evander Kane IR abdominal surgery. For the Panthers, we're waiting to hear on word from Sasha Barkov, their captain. He's out due to illness. At least he was on Saturday. He is a game time decision. All right, keep those texts coming in. 780-218-9999. And if you're watching on YouTube, like, share, subscribe. We are closing in on 11,000 subscriptions, and we want to make sure Dusty Nielsen eats that disgusting pickled herring if we get to 11,000 by Christmas. Let's also welcome in our game analyst for tonight, in for Matt Cassian. He was just in Mexico, comes back, does a game from the rink, takes his daughter to the game, which is a great experience, obviously. We got Gager on location with me all day on Saturday. It was fantastic. And then guess what? Cass is in Seattle. So Belsey gets the tap, and Shawn Belle is our game analyst tonight. Belsey, always a pleasure, sir. We had a great time down at Summit Restaurant at Silent Ice Center. We had Jerome McGinley on Hello Hockey. That was a lot of fun. So go check that out. Another great edition of the Modern Power Play, too. It was Richie, I think, this week mocking Patrick Laine's.
That was just such
suit.
a tough. It was such a tough looking suit.
That was a bad suit, man.
I still can't understand why he decided to wear that.
Because he don't care, and he takes
right.
risks. Guess what? Probably didn't pay a cent for that thing.
Not a thing.
Not a thing. All right. As we get you Game Changers, it's brought to you as always by Damon Bunting, Remax Elite. Damon Bunting, consistent top producing realtor in Greater Edmonton and among Western Canadian Remax realtors. He and his team would love to help you find that right home or make the move from your current home. He's community driven and understands what it takes to make a difference in our city. So check him out, DamonBunting.com, or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate. Number one, and I was going to say, Bellsy, what do you think about this matchup? But it's pretty straightforward here. Point number one is emotional game.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to you guys talk about it earlier. We can sit here and pretend like it's not going to be a bigger or a higher stakes game, and we're going to downplay it, and we can do all those things. But the reality is it is going to be an emotional game. This is the team that beat you in the Stanley Cup Final. You feel like you have something to prove. Do I think it's a revenge game? No, because what revenge are you getting? Oh, man, you beat us in the regular season? No, that to me is not what you're looking for. It's just a higher stakes game. It is a bit of a rivalry because obviously Matt Tkachuk is on the other team, and he'll drag you into the fight, obviously being a Flame for a long time, some of the comments that he made over the course of the summer, so there is a bit of a budding rivalry that's slowly starting to happen there. But no, this is a game where it's higher stakes. You've got to be emotionally engaged, physically engaged as well, so that you can put your best foot forward and continue the streak that you've been on, because this has been good hockey for the Oilers.
Matt Tkachuk in that Prime series saying, I don't know if they even have pools in Edmonton. Something to that effect.
Yeah.
Like, he just knows how to needle, right?
100%. And it's Matthew. Yeah. There is pools in Edmonton. They just happen to be frozen at this time of the year. So
that's right.
I mean, deal with that. But anyway, no, it's he does. He knows how to needle it, and he lives kind of for that rivalry. Being a Flames guy for a long time, obviously that hatred is there for the Oilers and Oiler fans, because they consistently chirp him. They've been calling him Turtle for the longest time, dating all the way back to when Cassian, had him on the ground there. So obviously there's that rivalry there from his standpoint, and he's definitely going to drag the Oilers into that rivalry and that fight. And it's going to be a fast-paced game. It's going to be a hard-hitting game, and he's definitely going to try to get under the skin of the Oiler players.
Bellsy, as a former player, I want to get your thoughts on this and put yourself into that mindset. I was doing an interview with Adam Henrique today. You could catch it if you're part of the Nasty Club, exclusive content. That one-on-one is there. But I asked Adam Henrique, I'm like, I anticipate it might get a little saltier in terms of chirps, especially from their side. I tried to put it as nicely as possible. He knew what I meant, and he downplayed it. And I respect him because he's a pro through and through. But Bellsy, come on. If you win a Stanley Cup and then you're facing the team you beat in Game 7 and broke their heart in what was an epic series, I would be just merciless towards the team I beat. What do you think is going to be said on the ice tonight?
Well, I don't know how much is going to be said on the ice. I mean, I understand where you're coming from with that. But at the same time, Florida's got to figure out trying to get their game in order. I think they've been shut out back-to-back games.
Yes.
And for them, you can get into that battle of the chirping back and forth, and we beat you, and my Stanley Cup ring. But the reality is it's a higher heightened game, right? There's more at stake, but at the same time, Florida's trying to get their game in order. So, to kind of deviate off the course and what you're trying to do probably isn't going to help them, and that probably plays right into the Oilers' hands. So I think they're going to toe a very fine line of, yes, there's going to be some, that hit might be a little bit harder. That one chirp about the Stanley Cup might come out, but at the same time, there's going to be some pretty good focus on both teams.
I was talking to some of the Panthers staff today, and they're telling me about the Stanley Cup rings. Bellsy, $100,000 Canadian on your finger.
You might as well just wear a bowl on your finger.
I know. That thing's for show, but
it's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. Yeah. It is Game Changers with Shawn Belle, Tom Gazzola with you, Zachary Kubish back at ESTHQ. Point number one was emotional game. Point number two, stay hot Hyman, Bellsy.
Hyman has been unbelievable since he's come back, and you want to see him continue to score because, I feel that when there's that secondary scoring with Hyman and Nuge and those guys, the Oilers are a better team because they're harder to defend. Mm-hmm. When you only have two guys and they have to consistently rely on McDavid and Draisaitl, well, it becomes hard, and teams just now have to focus on two guys, and they feel that they can beat you. But now that Hyman's rolling, it's a lot harder because now you have to defend another player, and then that gets Nuge going, and it just kind of snowballs throughout the lineup. So for Hyman, I think he's been playing well. Even when he wasn't scoring, he was still getting chances, which was a good thing. But now that he is actually scoring, I feel like there's that confidence coming back into his game, and he just makes the Oilers a little bit more dangerous.
Is he doing anything particularly different outside of burying some shots and chances, or is he have you noticed a little bit of a difference in his game outside of actually finishing?
Well, not really, because Hyman's game is just, it's a hardworking game. Like, he's never been a flashy player. He's always been a guy that's got the foundation of work going to the net. Obviously, he's got a pretty good shot. So he was doing those things, in the start of the season, but he wasn't bearing on those chances. Like I can vividly remember there's opportunities where he had like cross crease, one tap-ins or one-timers even. He'd whiff on the one-time or he'd shoot it over the net. Like, there was just things that weren't happening for him. And now all of a sudden he was starting to grip his stick. Mm-hmm. And now he's got those goals. He's got, I think, 5 in the last 5 games.
Yep.
Then he's starting to find that scoring touch, and that's what the Oilers need. They just need more guys that can contribute to the overall game.
Hyman now up to 8 goals, 5 assists, 13 points, a +5 with 12 penalty minutes in 25 games. He did miss those 5. Yeah, the first dozen or so were a tough sledding, I should say,
yes,
for Zach Hyman. All right, point number 1, emotional game. Point number 2, stay hot, Hyman. Point number 3 on Game Changers, brought to you as always by Damon, Bunting, Rematch Elite. Shawn Belle is special teams.
Special teams, yes. The special teams are starting to awaken. The kill has been a little bit better. The power play is slowly getting better. They've changed up some of the looks on the power play just to make it fresh, make it harder to stop as opposed to just the Draisaitl in the far corner. And you're starting to see some success. So you just got to keep that thing rolling, and hopefully, the power play, the special teams can potentially win them a game. If you keep it 5-on-5 and you get that one kill that you necessarily need, and then the power play can strike, well, that's a victory, and that's what you're looking for. So special teams is a big piece of it, especially in today's day and age of hockey, and you just want to see baby steps, incremental steps, where they're just getting better every single game.
The Oilers have now moved up to 14th in the NHL when it comes to the power play. That's going into today. Yep. 22.4%, 17 for 76. The PK is now up to 26th. It was absolutely abysmal for the first month of the season. It has had to put in some work and overtime, and it's only gotten up to 26. That's 73.2% with 2 shorthanded goals scored. They had one the other night. That was good to see. The Florida Panthers, on the flip side, 7th in the NHL on the power play, 26 for 100. They've had a lot of power play opportunities at 26%. And then the PK is 10th in the NHL, 81.3%. But Belsey, the number that stands out to me is 7 shorthanded goals already this year. 7 shorthanded goals in a season is pretty impressive.
It's pretty good, yeah.
What do you think leads to all those shorthanded goals? Because it's not, a few of those might be luck here and there, but there's got to be something that a team's doing to generate that much offense shorthanded in the first third of the season.
Well, I think the Panthers they do a good job of taking away lanes in zone. I think they make it hard for teams to break into their zone. And I also think they're a high pressure team, and they consistently force. Like, if you watch their systems, they're constantly in your face or constantly trying to pressure you. And sometimes teams have the tendency when they get on the power play, to kind of relax, to be like, okay, well, we've got one guy extra, so we can relax and we can move pucks around. But the reality is that Florida's coming at you anyway. So I think when you're on that power play, like, you kind of have to outwork the other team's PK, right? So if there's a loose puck, you need 3 guys in there. You got to try to outman because that Florida's coming, and they get down ice and they consistently hunt the puck. So it makes it very hard for teams. And obviously, with 7 PK goals already. Like, that's very impressive.
Yeah, the Florida Panthers have been doing it. They can bite you even when they're down a man. Bobrovsky versus Skinner in goal. Maybe a thought on that, and then I will ask you about the impact of Alexander Barkov potentially not being in the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, Bobrovsky obviously has been a fantastic goaltender since breaking into the league. He had a little bit of a slump there, but he's come back with a vengeance. He's playing well. You'd probably say he's one of the upper echelon goaltenders in the league. And then we obviously have Stuart Skinner, and we talk about Skinner a lot here in Edmonton for many different reasons, whether it's good or bad or indifferent. But the one thing that I think we can all agree on is that he's slowly starting to find his game. He's been better. He's been a little bit more solid. And if he can continue that trend, he's going to give the Oilers a better chance to win. You can't let in soft goals. You can't let in untimely goals. And that's something that's happened earlier in the season. But as he's now starting to trend and get better, you're seeing now there's those extra saves, and there's a little bit more confidence, and maybe you can have that one more gamble up the ice to see if you can get that goal when there's solid goaltending in the net. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. Hopefully that Skinner can continue his recent trend. Just don't give away the puck behind the net, please. I think the Oilers should win, though.
Barkov, if he can't go, he's sick. Did not play in Calgary. There'll be some lineup tweaks, obviously, some movement with the forward lines, but a guy like that can do it at both ends of the rink and has such a huge impact, that's got to hurt.
It does hurt. That's a massive hole in their lineup. He's kind of their heart and soul guy. He's always in the running for awards, whether it's the defensive side or if it's the offensive side. Like, he's just such a terrific player, and he impacts the game so much. So losing a player like that would definitely hurt them. But at the same time, kind of selfishly, I want to see him in the lineup because I think it makes the Panthers better. I think it makes a more intriguing matchup. I think it's best on best at this point, and to me, that's what I'd like to see. So I hope he's not out of the lineup. I hope he plays, but definitely is. It's a massive loss for the Panthers.
Alexander Barkov, game time decision. Teams hitting the ice right now for warm up. That reminds me, I got to turn on my Amazon Prime on my TV.
Oh yeah, it's Prime. It's on Prime today.
I'm looking for it. I can't remember what channel it's on. I think it's 450 something on TELUS. But and it's interesting to see how Prime is really starting to change, and I think their broadcast is actually improving quite a bit. I was talking to Johnny Forsland. We're going to catch up with John in a few minutes here. But he says the pregame, being able to hear certain elements in and around the arena as opposed to like talking heads like us.
Yep.
Some people have actually tuned in because it's a different perspective. And it's kind of neat. They had a big crew. The Prime people did. Yep. They hired some local guys. And there's going to be a lot more cameras around, more microphones picking up sound. If you're a player, Bellsy, and there's even more microphones around you, are you a little more leery about what to say?
100%. I think once you get into the moment, though, once you get into the game and the flow of the game, you're saying what you say no matter what. But at the same time, I think Amazon's doing a pretty good job capturing behind the scenes. Right, because there's been so many broadcasts that have never wanted to capture what's going on behind the scenes. But in today's day and age, people want to hear what's going on the ice. I think you want to hear what people have to say because sometimes there's some pretty good material out there. So I think Amazon's doing a good job with it. Now, obviously, I wish it was a little bit more accessible for people, but it is what it is there.
Hey, oddly enough, it's called home ice access, and they're showing like crowd shots and wide pans of the building, and it's kind of neat. I actually don't mind it, and I think they do have a quick 10-minute pregame show. I know Adnan Verk was here. I saw Blake Bolden was here, talked to John Forsland, Shane Knighty, Thomas Hickey. So they have a great crew, and I'm looking forward to see it. And these things take time, Bellsy. Like, it's not always like you and me. We were gold right out of the gates for Hello Hockey back in 1260 days. So we were a rarity and an anomaly, but not everybody can be you and me. Right. So I'm kidding. There were some hiccups along the way, but
there definitely was. But I mean, hey, here we are. Right. I'm actually getting chirped in the nasty chat right now, which is kind of funny. Chief Andy says Bellsy carries his rookie card in his front pocket with a little snickering face. Kind of funny.
Well, you know what, Belzy? In my day-to-day awesome backpack that Rashad has not seen or made fun of, I would have a Sharpie for you to sign it if you were giving it away to a little kid.
Yeah. I wish I had my rookie card in my front pocket. That would be actually kind of funny.
That would be sick.
Yeah.
Belzy, great stuff. We're going to catch up with you on the post-game show.
Yeah. Take care, man.
All right, that is Shawn Belle, our game analyst, in for Matt Cassian this evening. Game Changers, as always, brought to you by Damon, Bunting, Rematch Elite. I also want to point out that portions of this hour are brought to you by Hudson's, Canada's Pub. Myself and Joaquin Gage were there with some nasties, and Gage's wife, Megan, came by, and his son, Bodie, too, which was cool. Shout out to Rob from the Grove, as well as Tommy Rabella and Vance Van Vanderven, who came out to Hudson's on Saturday. We had a really good time. You're always invited to watch any Oilers game there, and they do an all-day happy hour, I believe, on Thursdays. They have 6 o'clocker lager in can form at both locations, and they also do $6 house drafts with the featured Blueberry Blonde Ale, which myself and VR Montenegro dipped into, and we really like that. So book your reservation now at Hudson's Canada's Pub, especially this time of year. They're very busy with holiday and Christmas parties. And when it's not prime time, you can just head on down and pick up a spot to sit because they say, come on in, find yourself a seat, and away we go. All right, Coob, are you there? I was calling.
I'm alive,
for you
yeah.
earlier.
Yeah, I'm
you're
here.
Alive. I know you're a busy boy today. Big thank you to you for stepping up and filling in on the pregame show. What are your thoughts on today's game? And Hernan had the question of the night. Is this a more emotional game, elevated game, because it is the Panthers in a Stanley Cup Finals rematch? Or is this just another game on the schedule? How do you look at it?
Well, it's definitely one that I highlighted looking at the Oilers' schedule. And they've had a few of those games over the last few weeks, I think.
Yeah.
Like playing Vegas again and kind of the storylines there just on Saturday. But leading into this game, it's one of the ones that I actually circled on the calendar and, thought about going to myself. Didn't end up, buying the tickets to want to see it. But these are two lethal teams. And even just leading with that, I think it's one that everybody wants to see. But of course, with the Stanley Cup Final being against these two clubs, I think it's definitely something that holds some emotional value with people and fans in the city. So it's going to be one that people are going to be, I think, sitting on the edge of their seats for.
All right. Well, I hope it is an entertaining game. And DJC Texan says this game is extremely important. This sets a tone for if these two teams meet in the playoffs again. Edmonton needs to avenge the loss. We hear all the time 2 points at the start of the season is the same as 2 points at the end. But tonight you're playing for more than just the points. Leon especially needs to make a statement, and I'm looking for him to have a great evening. Keep up the great work. Thank you, DJC. Appreciate that text and the perspective for sure. Another one from Ryan in Saskatchewan says the Panthers were terrible in Calgary, so they will be looking for a bounce-back effort. Oilers are playing great, dictating play. I think the Panthers will try to slow them down by greasing it up. Prediction, the power play is going to stay hot tonight, and the Oilers will win a close one. And then Coach Mike says, does a healthy Arvidsson bump anybody from the top 6? Coach Mike, I think that it's okay to leave Kasperi Kapanen up there if he continues to play well. Whether or not that happens, we shall see. I don't mind the idea of easing Arvidsson back into the lineup. Whether or not that happens, time will tell. But I thought the same thing for when Hyman was making his way back to the lineup, but they just threw him up there with McDavid, and that worked up just fine. So we will see. I like the idea of easing him in. He's missed way more time than Hyman did. Hyman missed just 5 games. Kapanen's been in for a little bit, but Arvidsson, in terms of games missed, he has not played since November 12th against the Islanders. So we're coming up on almost 5 weeks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 games he will miss. So I don't mind just easing him back into action. All right. Keep those texts coming in, 780-218-9999. If you're watching on YouTube, like, share, subscribe. The teams have just hit the ice for warm-up. It is the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. I had the privilege, honor, and good fortune to catch up with a friend John Forslund. You've heard him many times. If you don't recognize the name, you will recognize the voice. He has called playoff games, Stanley Cup Finals, was the voice of the Hartford Whalers and the Carolina Hurricanes, moved to Seattle when Ron Francis took over with the Kraken, and he's still doing national games, TNT, as well as Prime. So you're going to hear and see John Forslund tonight. I had a chance to catch up with him. Let's go to that, myself and Johnny Forslund, from just after the morning skate. Well, it's an honor and a treat to be joined by this man from the Seattle Kraken broadcast, but tonight it's the Prime broadcast, Monday Night Hockey. John Forslund. Johnny, I want to ask you how it's going on Prime, because the first Oilers game on there against the Devils, which was here, people, how do I watch this? They're texting it to our show. I'm like, if you've got Amazon Prime, you can watch it. A bit different, but you and I were talking, it's not bad.
No, Tommy, we're proud of it. I think the fans that are figuring it out are enjoying it. It's really about the game. We put the game at the center of it all. We try to capture what's going on with each team, and not only that, but also the markets that we're in.
Right.
And sell the brand and sell it to Canadian fans that don't really need to be sold, but they're seeing the game from a different viewpoint with the amount of resources that Amazon's bringing to the table. So we have an overabundance of cameras and replay machines and just a way to take you closer to the game, which I think has been great so far.
And a great lineup of broadcasters as well, I will say. That's
with the
just
exception of me.
Lies, Johnny. You're everywhere. Oh my, always humble, always humble. All right, Stanley Cup rematch. That's the big story. Only a few games in the NHL tonight. What excites you about this game to start out?
Well, this is an automatic, right? And it should be, because it was one of the most epic Stanley Cup finals we've seen ever. And both teams are starting to find their way.
Yeah.
I know Florida has struggled to score goals the last two games, but they played exceptionally well before that. They're a great team, and they'll figure out a few things that are within their team game that need fixing. And for the Oilers, they're getting through a period now where they're winning. There's probably some coaching moments within the winning that Chris Knobloch's utilizing, because it's always easy to teach and fix when everybody's happy. So they're getting points and they're clicking offensively. And, again, I just think it's two teams that want to get back to where they were. And for the Oilers, it's a long reach back when you're that loser. When you lose in a 7-game series like that, the emotional drain is something that should not just be taken for granted by the fans. The players have to fight through that to get back. Florida's different. They're riding the high of the cup. They're defending it. They're ready for every opponent they play every night, because that comes with being a Stanley Cup winner.
One thing with this lineup with the Panthers, you and I did a quick look and scan. We didn't see Barkov out there. If he's not good to go, because I know he's a bit nicked up, how much of an effect do you think that has on this Panthers team?
Huge. I mean, because he's your number one matchup defensively, along with everything he does offensively, right? So if you're going to go up against world-class talent, you want to have a world-class centerman like he is. Selke winner and everything that goes along with it. So he's their leader. Everything kind of, falls into place after him. But they do have enough to manufacture enough to defend well and get the goaltending from Sergei Bobrovsky to win this game. And Florida, I think, has a little bit of a burr tonight, which will be good. It'll bring out the best in the Oilers, I think. So I think the game will be perfect. It will be a showplace.
Johnny, I have a question for you, because you were with Carolina before on the broadcast, obviously. The Canes lose in 0-2 to Detroit. They beat the Oilers in 0-6. That people were talking about that forever around here, as you know, when you make your trip up here. What do you think it's like for a team, in your experiences, coming off a loss in a Stanley Cup final and trying to navigate the course of an 82-game season to get back there?
That's a great question. And I personally wouldn't know, but I've been around long enough to talk to players that have been through this. And Tommy, all the players who have lost, especially an emotionally draining 7-game series, that's the one that's hard to come back from, because they can't get over it. They never will get over it. As much as they try and put it away, then they come back and they realize we have to go through another 6 to 7 months to get close. Never mind reach it again. Whereas the winner comes off the elation of winning and the parties and all of that. And maybe they have a hard time recapturing some of it at the start of the season, but at some point they get it, right? So I think that's the one where the losing team has to fight through all of that. And I think that might have been some of the issues emotionally maybe the Oilers were dealing with at the beginning of the season. I don't know. I can't creep into their heads. But I'll tell you what, every player that I've talked to, especially the team way back when in 2002 that played against that great Detroit team, they weren't even close to matching what they had.
Yeah.
It was a run. They went on a run in the playoffs, but then they were emotionally drained when they got back, and it was just, oh, God, it's training camp already, but you're not coming back in a celebratory mood.
No, totally. And I'm getting flashbacks to September, October around here. I asked Adam Henrique about it, and he's very professional. Obviously, he's been around the league forever. He didn't give me much. I said, would it be saltier with the chirps? Is it going to hurt a little bit more? And he was like, I don't know. I don't really think so. So I thought that was interesting.
Well, all it takes is one moment in a game tonight to kind of change this whole dynamic around. And then all of a sudden, whatever happened is at the forefront.
Yep.
And whatever was said then might come out tonight. You know, I don't know. I think they're proud. And I think as they sit in the morning of a game like this in the middle of December, a week before the holiday break, they're probably all saying, well, it's a 1 of 82, and I know it's a matchup, blah, blah, blah. It's not like you're playing in your conference against a playoff rival where you might see again in the spring. This is a one and done. Who knows if they ever do it again. But I think there could be something within the game that will draw it out. If there isn't, then maybe they just go about their business.
If it does happen that one moment, you're going to be on the call. It's going to be a great call. You got Shane Knighty with you, Thomas Hickey, Blake Bolden. It's a great broadcast. If anybody hasn't seen it yet, Johnny, what would you tell them?
You got to see it. No, you got to see it to believe it. And really, we come on the air in a unique way. You and I were talking about this morning. We come on the air 45 minutes before the game starts with just visuals and sound up, real-time atmospheric shots of the building, the locker rooms, the players, the fans, the city itself, getting ready for game night. We have a lot of people that log on and watch that. It's kind of something different that leads us right into our pregame. So we're proud of it, and find it because it's good, and they put a lot of resources into this. There's a lot of money behind this production through Amazon. They have a lot of great ideas for the future in partnership with the NHL.
Hey, I was super impressed being a hockey fan, watching traditional broadcasts my whole life, which you've been on for the majority of your pro career, obviously. Yeah. John, it's going to be great. So
and for the Canadian fans, it is a traditional broadcast.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't bring somebody as old as me and put me on the game. But I believe in in how to do the game right.
Yes.
And that's how we're doing it. So I'm proud to be part of this. I think Canadian fans love it. I hope.
John, you're one of the best in the game. Thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Great seeing you.
Awesome stuff there. That is John Forsland. He will be calling the game on Prime tonight. He is a good man, a great broadcaster, and a treat to be around. And he's got some amazing stories. Talking about Barkov, he's not on the ice, so just a quick update for you in regard to the Panthers lineup. He's not taking warm-up, so that's a big gap in the lineup for the Florida Panthers. He will not play tonight as he continues to be on the mend due to illness. I don't know if you've had a chance, really, Coop, to watch this, but it is cool in a way to hear the sounds from the rink, and they interject. They just had Thomas Hickey do an interview with Zach Hyman. But I guess at the same time, like, it might get to be a little much. Like, you can keep an eye on it and know you're not missing that much. It's different, and I actually don't mind it, but I've been watching for the last couple of minutes as I was listening to Johnny. I'm like, yeah, it's different, and I respect it, but I don't know if it'll, like, make me want to watch the pregame more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't like it is something different, and it might be a bit enticing for a while. It kind of makes me think of like the campfire in the background. You are getting prepped for the game. Maybe there's no other game on at that moment around the league or whatever it is, and you might just want it on. Those interviews might come up, but you might not have the chance to go to the game either. And if you want to have that kind of vibe to be in the arena as well, right? Like, you just see the certain things that are going on around the arena. I find it pretty cool. I haven't had the chance to really, throw it on myself, but I'm pulling up Prime right now and getting on there. And the one thing I do like about having the access of the game on Prime is that I can get it anywhere, right? Like I don't really have, for the other sport channels or whatever, when it's on cable, a regular game, not Monday nights, I can't really watch that anywhere, but
True.
I just pulled it up like easily for me. I know the other, like most people say, oh, well, where do I find it? Like you're telling, John there. Yeah.
Oh,
you're
Johnny,
telling
yeah.
John there, like some of our fans don't really know how to get it. And it is a little bit different, but they're changing the way that it's presented, which I find it's cool to bring new ideas. And I'm curious what they will do farther in their relationship with the NHL.
Yeah, and you know what? It could also be tweaked as they go along. Like maybe they condense how much of this, warm-up time is just like ice and arena sound. Maybe they get more stuff from the broadcasters, and then they do spread it out a little bit more instead of just have a big chunk of it. But it's kind of neat. It'll evolve. It takes time. We're only a couple months into this prime existence in the National Hockey League, if you will. But some neat concepts. And like John was talking about, they do have the resources behind them to really try some different things and maybe help evolve the way a game of hockey is broadcast. And so we'll see. There's some great camera angles for sure. And it's fresh and it's new, and it'll find its groove, and it's already pretty good. I know some people are like, I don't have Amazon Prime. I don't want to pay for Amazon Prime. But for those that do have it, you get the splendor of enjoying Monday nights. And then the other thing, too, is, as we know, streaming services, subscription, digital, like we are a digital radio station. That is the wave of the future, as I like to joke. And I think it was Dusty Nielsen said it when we started Edmonton Sports Talk. It's like, do you go to Blockbuster to rent your movies, or do you watch on Netflix, or Prime, or do you watch on Disney Plus and Apple TV? Like, this is the next step, and whether or not we like it or we don't, it's where everything is going. So kind of neat. Donnie M Texan says, effing amazing, so cool, so good. He's watching the warm up with no talk. So cool. Greg the Sound Guy says, great to see the Prime pregame isn't glitchy at all. So excited to watch a game that's going to give us all headaches. What a joke, Greg the Sound Guy. Greg, being a sound guy, I'm assuming is a little bit more nitpicky with some things on the broadcast. So I understand that. What else do we have? I'll get to some more stuff here, but we'll go around the league. Right now, just two other games on the schedule. One of them is underway, Dallas and Washington, 7 minutes into the first period, and still donuts up on the board. I saw another text that I wanted to get to. Hampton Steve says, Tommy, I don't mind the warm-up with the live audio, and the in-game work on Amazon is good, but my big issue has been the intermissions. The interviews and segments haven't been good. Hampton Steve, that's fine, and I know there's been some moments. It's going to take time. Comfortability factor, getting in a rhythm. These are people from different networks coming in and being thrust together on a team like that. And there is chemistry in broadcast. We know some of the best play-by-play people, best panels, best reporters and in-host segments and interviewers and all of the in-game in-host or segment hosts, I should say, take time. It takes time. So it'll be the same for this Amazon broadcast, and those intermission interviews will definitely get better and better as people get more and more familiar with one another. Let's go to this one. Says, the NHL needs the NFL camera directors. The fact that the primary camera location hasn't changed since it was first done. The primary camera on NFL and CFL broadcasts, there's actually like 3 or 4 because the field is so big that they have, like, I think 3, one at center field in the CFL or the 50 in the NFL, and then one on like the 30 and the 30, and depending where the ball is, that's the camera they go to. So there could be some of that in the NHL. I know they've tried the floating cam a little bit, the sky cam, if you will, Pardon me. And that hasn't really worked out that great. So there's some issues with that because you don't want to get in the fans' way. You don't want to get caught up with the scoreboard as well. But I know there's a desire to want to innovate in hockey and on the hockey broadcast. So that's a good thing to point out. But we'll see. Maybe there's a few things that they pick up along the way that they incorporate from these Amazon broadcasts. Okay, we do have an update in terms of lineups for you. I gave you the Oilers lineup. It is exactly the same as the other night or afternoon against the Vegas Golden Knights. That will be McDavid between Nugent Hopkins and Hyman, Draisaitl with Podkolzin and Kapanen, Henrique between Janmark and Skinner, Ryan with Perry and Brown, and then on defense, Ekholm with Bouchard, Nurse with Stetcher, Kulak with Emerson, no Regula, Arvidsson, and Kane on the IR. Panthers, here's where things get a little bit different compared to what I said earlier in the game, if Barkov was good to go. So Barkov would have been their first-line center. That's not happening. He's not playing. He's still sick. So we'll see Anton Lundell between Eetu Luostarinen and Sam Reinhart. You've got Sam Bennett with Connor Verhaeghe and Matthew Tkachuk. Jesper Boqvist moves to center with Evan Rodriguez and Samoskevich. Tomasz Nosek with AJ Greer and Jonah Gadjovich stays in the lineup on the fourth line. On defense for Florida, Forsling with Ekblad, Mikkola with Kulikov, Balinskis and Schmidt are the third pairing. Bobrovsky is your starter. Stu Skinner for the Oilers. All right, we have a couple of minutes here before we wrap up. Coop, some final thoughts from you.
Well, like missing your captain really kind of puts that dagger into you. I think that gives the slight into the Oilers end now because Barkov is just such a lethal player on both sides of the puck. And it's pretty interesting. Like I wasn't aware of the stats really before today, but seeing that the Panthers were shut out in back-to-back games, that's not a team that I would ever think would be really, shut out like that. And that doesn't happen too often in the league. And, there's ups and downs. They haven't really played that fantastic. It seems like in their last few games, like it was a 2-1 shootout victory over Seattle. And then it was 3-1 against the Sharks and 7-5 against the Flyers. It was kind of open up in that game. So I find like in this game, when I'm looking at it, I think it'll be a high scoring and tight game because both of these teams are just like upper echelon in the league. I got like a 5-4 game in this one. Pretty tight.
All right. It's going to be, I don't know, man. I think, we should be in for a few goals, but watching Skinner lately, he's been rock solid. Bobrovsky, his numbers aren't excellent, but he can show up one night and absolutely put up a brick wall. So I think we're in for an exciting game. There's going to be some high emotion, even though, the Oilers are saying it's just another game. It isn't. This is a shot to maybe get a quick jab in on the team that beat you in the Stanley Cup Final, and a reminder that you want to show them that you want to be around in June again. And if there's a rematch, you're going to be better prepared. So I think this is a super important game. There will be added incentive for the Oilers, and there will be extra emotion. That means we get to enjoy what should be a fun one tonight at Rogers Place. That's going to do it for the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. A big thank you to Johnny Forsland for joining me earlier on the Rink Report. And for Zach Kubish, Hernan Salas, and Shawn Belle, I'm Tom Gazzola saying thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Enjoy the Oilers versus the Panthers, and we'll catch you on the post-game show. Ciao for now.